people were interested in crowdfunding campaigns, and I mentioned that I have done 3 successful crowdfunding campaigns through Seed&Spark. So I was asked to share this as somewhat informal. I put together a PowerPoint to kind of organize my thoughts, and I invited my collaborator Cheryl Bookout to join me because she has run all 3 of these campaigns with me. Plus, she's run another campaign through Kickstarter, so she may have some extra thoughts about that. So we will just share our experience, and and then have lots of time for question and answers. So here I go. It says share sound. I don't think I have sound, but we'll put that on. Okay, everybody can see my title screen here.
Yes.
Okay. Cheri Gaulke and Cheryl Bookout's Adventures with Seed&Spark. All right. So we've run 3 successful campaigns, as I said. And what's our secret? Honestly, I think our secret, we don't really have a secret. The secret is do it on Seed&Spark and do what they tell you to do. Like, really pay attention to their advice, because these people know what they're doing and they're very good at it, and they're there to help you. So when I took this screenshot, it put these in reverse order. So if you start by looking at the one on the far right, that was our first campaign. And one of the reasons we did it is we were making a feature film, Acting Like Women. We're still making it. We're in post-production. And we wanted to learn how to do a campaign. So we thought, well, we'll make this short film, and we're going to learn a lot of stuff that's going to help us when we make the feature. So Inside the Beauty Bubble is our short. And our goal was to raise $14,000, and we raised $16,660. So that was in 2020. And then we did our first Acting Like Women for funding for production. Goal was 25. We thought, let's go up a little bit. We raised 26,120. And then we did what we called Act 2, which is funding for post-production. Our goal was 30. We raised 35.5. So why Seed&Spark? You do have options. There's Kickstarter, and there are a lot of advantages of Kickstarter. I think people are familiar with it. It's not just for filmmakers. So maybe you are exposing your project to people who are interested in all kinds of things. You don't need a fiscal sponsor, and that's pretty significant. But you have to make all your money before you can collect it. So if you have a goal of 15,000, you got to make 15,000, or you don't get any. It's like gambling, I guess. It's like Vegas a little bit. Indiegogo, you don't have to raise the full amount, and you keep the amount that you raise. Cheryl, do you want to just say something briefly about Kickstarter versus Seed&Spark?
I just completed a Kickstarter, and it went very smoothly. We actually brought in more funds than we anticipated. But the thing with Kickstarter is that you have to really stay on top of it. Not that you don't have to with Seed&Spark, but with Kickstarter, you're totally dependent upon your own creativity. Seed&Spark gives you a lot of hints and templates and things to work with. Kickstarter, you're pretty much developing your own. Kickstarter is really dependent on short social media video clips. So that puts you in production, making lots of little video clips. Kickstarter, the bonus for Kickstarter is that, like Cheri said, you do not need to work with a fiscal sponsor. And I think we're going to talk about what that means a little bit more into the presentation. So we had a very good experience with Kickstarter, but having done Seed&Spark also, I recommend Seed&Spark over the 2 experiences, just because of the tools provided by Seed&Spark. But again, we exceeded our expectations with Kickstarter. It took a whole team of people to make that happen.
Thank you. And why does it do this? Oh, there we go. So Seed&Spark. So I really like Seed&Spark. I like the whole vibe of Seed&Spark because it was really created by filmmakers for filmmakers. They have a very robust resources. They have blogs, tutorials. They do workshops. So many different things that are there for you. They do give you feedback before you start. So you design your campaign and you show it to them, and they actually give you notes. And I added potential future relationship because at one point they were also expanding into distribution. I don't think they're doing that anymore, but they're people in the field that are thinking all the time about how to make this field better of filmmaking. And I really like that. I like aligning with them. And also now they supposedly don't collect a platform fee. So it used to be a certain percentage of everything. Now you'd still have to pay a fee because you have to pay for credit card through another agency called Stripe. And then people can leave tips to help fund the Seed&Spark platform. Okay, so, but then there are things like you do need a fiscal sponsor. So on the left here, I have, these are possible fiscal sponsors you could align with. We are personally aligned with Women Make Movies, but there's the IDA, Film Independent, Fractured Atlas, all of them need different, they take different percentages. So they take a cut. So it lowers how much you raise, but it does create additional bookkeeping. And in our case, Women Make Movies, well, they won't send receipts to everybody. We had to do that. They'll send receipts if it's 250 and above. But I think that there's something about a fiscal sponsor that also offers legitimacy. And I'm sure you're all dealing with this outside of the crowdfunding campaign setting anyway, whether you want to have a fiscal sponsor or not.
Can I jump in there really quickly?
Please.
Yeah. So on the fiscal sponsor, because I've done both sides of it, I have a nonprofit organization where I actually provided fiscal sponsorship partnerships. And also then I've been on the side where I've needed to use a fiscal sponsor. So one of the big advantages with fiscal sponsorship is that, as Cheri said, it adds legitimacy. And that is because with Seed&Spark and the fiscal sponsor, a fiscal sponsor receives and okays your project budget. And the fiscal sponsor makes darn sure that the money that you bring in through your crowdfunding goes exactly where you say it's going to go. Whereas with like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, once the money is released, the donors really don't have verification that the funds went toward the project budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Few people need to mute their mics. So why crowdfund? I mean, you could just go out to your community and ask for money for your film, right? But what's nice about crowdfunding, I think, is it gives you structure. It gives your team structures. It gives you a goal. You decide when to do it. You decide how much you want to raise. And it sort of gives your team and your potential donors a kind of structure within which to give, which creates excitement. And you do build an audience. It does allow you to reach out and be exposed to other people, kind of puts your whole fundraising efforts and your project out there. So before the campaign, it's a lot of work. There's, by the end of this presentation, you're going to be like, whoa, but as we're all filmmakers, so we know it's all a lot of work. Okay, timelines. You want to think about what time of year do you want to do it? We've generally done ours towards the end of the year, kind of building on people's desire to make donations at the end of the fiscal year. You want to think about how long your campaign should be. It could be really short, 30 days. It could be 45, it could be 60. And I feel like all of our campaigns, we've done 60. Is that right, Cheryl? Which is kind of crazy because it's an adrenaline rush for 60 days.
Yeah, we did start out thinking we were going to do 45 days, but based on the amount of work that it was, which was more than we thought it would be, surprise, that we felt we needed that full 60 days.
Yeah, and so you're spreading out the work in a way, but you're also, it's like being in a marathon, just feels like, oh, when is this ever going to end? So you want to think about that. Of course, you really do need a team to do this kind of stuff. It's not the kind of thing you can do as the only person. You need helpers. And so make sure that your team's in it for the duration. And then you want to make a calendar with goals, like how much do we want to raise by such and such date? And what kind of additional things are we going to roll out in the course of the campaign? So when we did our first campaign, I was just retiring I had a very robust mailing list, but in the course of losing my old work email, my mailing list was thrown into chaos, my address book, and it was just a mess. So I remember one of the biggest headaches at the beginning of this was just organize, like figuring out who was in my address book and who were the people. So think about, make sure your mailing lists are organized. Talk about, in many cases, people in your team are going to know the same people. So how are you going to deal with that? Who's going to be the one to reach out with them? Who's going to be the one that's going to have the most power in terms of pulling in that donor? You want to think about who are large donors, because you're not going to make it on $10, $25, $50 donations. You need those, 500s, thousands, you need those large donors. And then what you want to do is you want to prep your large donors for when your campaign start date is. So before you even launch your campaign, you say, so-and-so, will you give me $1,000 on day one of the campaign? Will you commit to that? And then please do it the minute you get the SING, because you want to come out of the gate looking successful. The other thing before the campaign is you got to make a pitch video. And again, oh my gosh, so much work. Seed&Spark has lots of articles, lots of examples of what makes a good pitch video. You basically want to watch other people's videos and emulate the best ones. You need to have basically two components in your pitch video. You need to have you as a filmmaker coming heartfeltly, is that a word? to your donor base, saying, here's why this film is important to me. Here's why I think it's important to be out in the world. So you need that kind of pitch. And then you also need images or footage, preferably if you've already done a little bit of filming, show people like kind of what it might look like. That was hard for us in our second and third campaign because we had not filmed anything yet. So we had to just use archival images and cut something together. Seed&Spark will tell you, keep it short, believe them, really do keep it 2 minutes or less. Notice when you watch other people's videos, when you start to get bored and how long you have patience for. And then when they give you feedback, take their advice. Cheryl and I were stubborn on our first campaign. And instead of making a single video, we made a trailer for our film and then the pitch video. And there's really no place set up in the template for 2 videos. So we were doing something, we were very stubborn, and they said, don't do that. And we did it. And we realized later that we should have just listened to them. Cheryl, at any time, just say add to this. Okay, also before the campaign, how much do you want to raise? Of course you want to raise a lot, but make sure you're choosing an amount that you can raise. That's maybe a bit of a stretch, but still realizable. Also define, what is it for? Don't just like, I need money to make this film. Tell people we need X amount to pay our cinematographer. We need X amount to build a set. We're documentary filmmakers. We don't usually build sets, but sort of define it so people understand what the money's for. And I put in the words of Susan B. Anthony, failure is impossible. And of course, failure is possible. And Susan B. Anthony knew that. But the point is, you got to go into this determining not to fail. You do not want to fail in any crowdfunding campaign. And I know for myself that when I've heard of filmmakers and projects, and I've looked them up and seen them on crowdfunding platforms and seen what a failure they were at raising money, I think, I don't want to work with that person. So you want to be successful. So set it up so that you will be successful. Seed&Spark offers a free 30-minute consultation, super helpful. They have lots of articles on their blog, and do listen to what they have to say. Okay. Cheryl is the co-founder and executive director of the Chimera Project, which, Cheryl, do you want to just take it away? And let me just show you, this is my next slide.
Sure. Yeah, just a quick snapshot. So we founded the Chimera Project in 2013 and got our status in 2014. We champion women and non-binary filmmakers to finish their projects in the way of mentorship, finishing funds, and a lot of programming that we do. So, and we do ask for inclusivity. We are asking for women to be in the key position, writer, director, producer, and then the more diversified the team is, the better. So we've had a successful run partnering with Seed&Spark. At one time for years, we were offering fiscal sponsorship partnerships, and we've had to stand back from that. It's a lot of work and we just don't have enough staff for it, but we still partner with Seed&Spark. And if you go to our website, and you'll note it's a funny spelling, CHIMAERA, on our partners page, you'll find Seed&Spark information, and the links on this page will take you directly to sign up for your free 30-minute consultation with Seed&Spark. Also, we kind of highlighted some of our favorite blogs. I love the one, audience building strategies using criminal psychology. That's one of my favorites. So just, but they're pretty spot on. So if you're considering working with Seed&Spark, I suggest going to our page because we have it organized. It's easy for you to find it. On their site, they have a lot of information. It's sometimes you have to kind of dig for it. So this kind of puts it in one spot for you. And you can reach out to me at any time. My address is on the my email's on the chimeraproject.org website, and I'm happy to answer any questions about what we do with Seed&Spark or I can't talk, our organization. Try saying that 10 times.
And Julie or Peter could probably add our emails in the chat if you want to do that.
So thank you, Cheri, for letting me share this. But I do think this page is helpful if you're thinking about Seed&Spark.
Yeah, and I agree with, sometimes the Seed&Spark site is a little difficult to navigate, ironically. Okay, so Jimmy had asked me this question, like, how do you find your donors? And by the way, when you guys are you seeing my full screen, not these little squares, and you're not seeing my I can't even, are you seeing my whole screen is what my question is? Yes. Okay, good. Okay. So your donors are going to be, it's probably no mystery. It's going to be, family members. It's going to be close friends. It's going to be your colleagues. I get a lot of, hit up my coworkers, my teachers at my job, my administrators, and I continue to do that even though I'm retired. I have a kind of big fan base still at where I worked. They show up for film festivals and stuff. Friends from high school. I remember I took a workshop with the Kickstarter guy. You've probably heard of him, and his workshop's great. I took it at Film Independent pre-pandemic. And one of the things that really stood out for me is how he talked about how a guy, one of his friends from high school, wasn't even a close friend, when he heard about his campaign, gave him his post office bonus. So the guy worked at the post office. And he said, why'd you give me this money? He said, when we were in high school, I remember you were the kid who always said, I'm going to be a filmmaker someday. And I'm just so proud of you for being that person. And here's my bonus. And that just stuck with me because I think that we do have people out there in our lives who admire us, and you wouldn't think to ask a friend from high school, but you know what? They might actually be one of your fans out there. Think about who would care about your story, people in organizations, in your extended community. And in terms of extended community, I remember at one point asking a museum official who gave me money, do you know other people that should know about my campaign? And they gave me the addresses of all these other people working in museums. And it was a little like scary to reach out to them. And I just wrote them an email and said, so-and-so gave me your contact, thought you'd be interested in this project, and it extended my reach. And now, interestingly enough, a few years later, I'm actually got a gig at a museum with one of those people. So, and occasionally strangers, and I write occasionally because, there is this myth that if people know about you, they're going to give you money. But the truth is the money you're going to get is really going to come mostly from people that you know. I keep getting, okay. All right. I already talked about discussing within your team, if you have overlapping contacts, how to decide who's going to be the best one to reach out to that person. Although Cheryl and I played good cop, bad cop, or tag team on a particular donor that we knew could give us money. And when she didn't respond to one of us, the other one reached out, pretending we didn't know the other one reached out. And so we were kind of putting pressure on her. Pressure is probably not a good word. You never want to seem like you're putting pressure on people.
So we're giving her awareness of our project.
Right. Yes.
In a nice way.
I mentioned the Legal Issues LLC. If you have an LLC, you may know that there are really strict laws about you cannot give to your own project. I used to think, oh, how easy is crowdfunding? Because if I'm not making it, I'll just throw some of my own money in to make sure I make it. You got to be super careful about that if you have an LLC. And then I also brought up the issue about you really want in the first a couple days to get a lot of money. So this is actually a picture of our first campaign, and the dotted line. So this is the kind of stuff that Seed&Spark gives you on a dashboard. The dotted line is what it should look like. That is typical progress for a crowdfunding campaign that is 7 weeks long. And the blue line is ours. So you see, we came out of the gate strong. We were actually above, but then we dipped. And then we went up, and it's an emotional roller coaster, man.
Cheri, can I say one quick
Yes.
thing about LLCs? So if you do visit the Chimera Project page for our Seed&Spark info, you'll also see that we partner with attorneys to help filmmakers form LLCs. So if you don't have one and you're thinking about doing it, when you visit our page, I suggest clicking on the link. The attorneys are called e-minutes. It's all that they do. And that's one of the best moves I personally made when I did my LLC was to partner with them. So the link on our page takes you directly to their filmmakers page and sets you up with information or how to reach out to them. So I do just want to point that out. If you visit the page, take a look at that as well.
Okay, I'm worried I'm going into too much detail on all this, so I'm going to try to go faster. So you got to come up with incentives. So there's the problem of stuff that nobody wants stuff's expensive to make, i.e. in the old days with the crowdfunding campaigns, you made t-shirts, you made postcards, you made posters, that kind of thing, but that's kind of out of style. And then it became more about services or goods. But then if you get like, I'll donate a massage, that's one massage that's taking up screen real estate. And once you've sold it, it's gone. That's problematic. And one of the things we did is we made combs that had our website on it. And that was really cute and fun. But then it was very expensive to mail those out. And it was for a small donation, although we love our combs and we use them at film festivals. Some other things we did is for Inside the Beauty Bubble, we told people for a certain amount that we would create a portrait of them in a vintage hairdo. And then what was great about that is then those pictures could go on our social media. So-and-so and so-and-so just donated. Don't they look cute in their new bob or their new beehive or whatever? Another thing we did, let's see if it plays. Yeah. Inside the Beauty Bubble, your name here. We made what was called an animated postcard where our subject, Jeff Hafler, would say, "Here's to ya," and it would say, "Thank you, Cheri Gaulke for donating." And we would also send those to people and put those on social media. And then we also did a few events and parties. And, in the time of COVID, that's become really difficult. But you see here for $250, I would lead people on a walking tour of this art neighborhood. And what's challenging about those is keep it simple, try to get everybody to donate their time and services and the liquor and all that, so it doesn't cost you more money to put on this party. And then when you're at the event, you can actually raise additional money by having a raffle or doing other things like that at the event itself. And of course, the problem with parties and events is that people out of town can't come. So there's a lot of talk about getting a producer credit as a way of raising money. And I think, when we started our first campaign, you see here, we were very loose with the producer credits, 2,500, 5,000, 15,000. I don't think we got a 15,000. What was our highest donation in our first campaign? I think it was 2,500.
2,500, yeah.
Yeah, we got two, and those people got, they actually got, that's interesting. Oh, I see. No, this is from our first campaign for Acting Like Women. Yeah, never mind. We gave away associate producer credits or executive producer credits or something on our first film. Then we've gotten more careful about that. And you see here in our current last campaign, it was $10,000, and we didn't even promise them a producer credit for that. Uh-oh. Oh, good. It's been upgraded. Yay. Okay, so now during the campaign, oops. Okay. The biggest thing you're going to be doing during your campaign is writing. You cannot send out a group email to your friends saying, I'm doing this campaign, send me money. You have to send every single person an individual email. So you want to start with a kind of form letter, and then you want to personalize each one. And our very first campaign was done during COVID. And I had to just psych myself out and say, okay, you got to do this. And I'm not a big letter writer. And every day I would write multiple emails to people. But I told myself, this is an opportunity to check in. So think about those high school friends. What have they been up to? What have you been up to? Think of each email that you send as a way to connect with people, because that's how you're going to get people to respond, is that personal connection. And then within the email, make sure there are lots of links to the campaign.
Yes, and then multiply that by everybody that's on your team. If everybody on your team is doing the same thing for their contacts, then it extends your reach tremendously. So it's not one person doing this, it's everybody on the team.
Yeah, it's interesting. So then this is some of the tools in your dashboard from Seed&Spark where you can watch the progress. It's interesting that the dotted line has changed in these. Shouldn't the dotted line always be the same, because that's typical progress? But I feel like you see that we've gotten more better at sort of following that flow in the course of doing 3 campaigns. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so every day you're going to send personal emails. You're going to send thank yous. Seed&Spark lets you know immediately when people give money, and it's really exciting to just right away write that person and say, wow, thank you. I'm so touched. You want to keep good records. We used Airtable, and you want to keep track of all kinds of things: name, email, date, how much they gave, whose contact they were, when you sent the thank you. And I put name of campaign. The reason is, if you're in Airtable, now we've got this pretty robust database of multiple campaigns, and we can sort by campaign. We can see if somebody's given to every single one of our campaigns, or when they joined us, did they stick with us, that kind of thing. And every day you also want to post on social media to create a sense of urgency and a ticking clock. Maybe not every day, but you want to be pretty active on social media. To boost interest during your campaign, and again, if you're in one of those long ones, it's hard. You can do little raffles and contests. We did our subject, Jeff, had a rooster, and so we did a Name the Rooster contest, and people, it was a $10 donation. Honestly, we didn't make that much money, but it was a lot of fun for people to be submitting their names. And then we actually had the rooster pick the winner by pecking on it. Cheryl, you want to talk about some of the things that Courtney did in Just a Friend?
So yes, I was a producer for Just a Friend, a short film that's currently in the film festival circuit. It was the first narrative I've ever worked on. And Courtney decided to go with, we decided together that we were going to do Kickstarter. So when I mentioned earlier that Kickstarter was really dependent on doing video clips, sharing them broadly through emails and social medias. And Courtney was, she's excellent at it. So she did these little raffles where she would get a prize, and for days she would say, join our raffle, and this is what you'll win. And then she would take the little names from people who joined it and put it in a basket. And on a certain day, she'd pick the name, and if everybody was very excited about it, and it really kept a really fun engagement. And she did variations of this all the way through the campaign. Cheri, I don't know if you've got this set to run or if it's just a screenshot. This is static. Okay.
So, yeah, it's just a screenshot.
Yeah, just a screenshot. So she was very, very good at it. She's got the personality. So if you're not feeling into it and you've got a friend who's like super good with this kind of stuff, I advise you to reach out to them and get them to help you with these little video clips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that she had all this merch or stuff from the Suits set. So if you've got people of, you know, that are fans of a show and you've got stuff from that show or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. She was very good about pulling together because she is an actor and has been on quite a few name dropping things that people would recognize. And she was really good about pulling things from those episodic things that she worked on as merch to give away.
And then, of course, towards the end, you want to have lots of social media graphics poised, reminding people that time's running out. These are just some of ours done for Beauty Bubble and the kind of the style of our film. And then towards the end, they have this thing called stretch goals. And you see here at the bottom, did you hear inside the Beauty Bubble made 100% of their goal? Rumor has it they could use some help to meet their stretch goals. I'm checking that out. And then we had this graphic about what we needed additional money for. So you never want to be successful and call it quits. You want to get more than you wanted to get. And those are called stretch goals. So you got to create enthusiasm about that. Then after the campaign ends, you really have to be prompt and thank everybody for participating. You need to fulfill all those incentives. Cheryl, do you want to say something about that?
No, I'm just what Cheri's saying is true.
Yeah.
Nothing is more disappointing than to expect that you're going to get something in return for your donation and it never comes.
Or it comes so late they don't even remember.
Yeah, you don't remember what it was even for. So yeah, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be on top of it and be very timely.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing about merch too. If you're creating sweatshirts or t-shirts, all those things take time, and then they got to mail them out, and yeah, so it's and you got to send out those tax deductible receipts. And then Seed&Spark has a portal where you send periodic updates to donors. So it's every few months, just let people know, hey, we're filming, or hey, here, this fun thing happened on set today, or oh boy, now we're looking at our footage and it's so fabulous, or whatever. And then of course, always be gathering all the emails into your own database, because at some point you're going to want to just move away from the Seed&Spark portal and start reaching out to people in other ways through MailChimp or other methods. And so having said all this, is it worth it? What are the benefits of doing a crowdfunding campaign? I think it really builds your fundraising skill set. And I feel much more confident about fundraising I learned a lot. It does expose your film to more people. It's a fun way to engage donors of all levels. A crowdfunding campaign creates a structure for people, people who just really only have $10, but they'll give you that $10 and they're as precious as the person who gives you $5,000. It does get you on the Seed&Spark donor circle radar. In our last campaign we did, we got a $1,500 donation from Mark Duplass. And I was like, Mark Duplass, how does he know about us? And I found out that they have this donor circle where donors like him commit to giving $10,000 a year, and they can either let Seed&Spark choose who will get that money, or they will choose. And when I asked Seed&Spark, they said, no, he found you. He liked your project. He wrote us a personal email. I have his personal email address. He said, keep me posted. I'm looking forward to seeing how your piece develops, blah, blah, blah. So that's pretty cool. And now we have a donor base of 300 donors from our 3 campaigns that now we're exploring other ways of reaching out to them. And your film project will live on Seed&Spark forever. And that is the end of my PowerPoint. And one thing I wondered if it would be helpful, let's see, it's 9:38. Would it be helpful for me to just really quickly just go into Seed&Spark and you can look at a campaign to see what it looks like? Yeah, people are saying yes, maybe. Okay, let me just do that really quick. Okay. So this is this is my dashboard in my personal dashboard. I'm going to go into our most recent campaign. Let's see. So here's what it looks like to people. At the top, you write a little sentence about why your project's important and what it is. Then you've got the video to watch, which should be, let's see how long our video is.
I'm Cheri Gaulke.
2 minutes, 15 seconds. So there you see me starting with the personal thing. Then you've got about the project. So you've got your mission statement, your story. These pink headings are things that we created to help organize the material. So acting like women, why is this important? Why now? What we've accomplished to date, what we need to accomplish, join the team, make the magic happen. Here's the backstory. It's a lot of text, honestly. Do people read all this? Probably not. What a lot of people do will watch your video and then they'll go right to the incentives. Well, how much can I give? And I had mentioned in a previous slide, have cute names for your incentives. So these are all named after performance pieces, Heaven or Hell, Ablutions, The Shoe Fits. So these are all passion container. They're all titles of performances. And, you know, by our third campaign, we were basically, our incentives were mostly, you know, amounts of money and less about what kind of you would get from it other than the pleasure of donating to our project. And we didn't find that was a great deterrent. I just feel like somehow people every day care less and less about stuff. Maybe that's just me, but, and then you have all these different tabs. You have a wish list, which I think is kind of silly. Nobody ever goes to this. You have updates. So this is where you do those updates for people that they'll get in their inbox. You have a place where you can talk about who your team is. You have a place, community, so you get to see who all your supporters are. I think everybody sees this. I think I'm not just seeing it. And then just privy to me only would be view your dashboard where I can go in and tweak things.
Hey, Cheri, I think there's some questions in the chat box.
Okay, yeah, let me stop the share and I'm going to do questions.
I think there was a couple I saw in the chat.
On the chat box. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me just run up to the top here.
Or folks, if you want to raise your hand in the reactions, that'll be another way that Cheryl can just respond to your questions. I'll search the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, maybe you clarified this, but so basically you have to have a 50, a nonprofit, a 501c3. So does the money go directly to them? You have to set it up so they get the money in their account, and then they have to process it, and then they send it to you. And what's the time frame for that?
Well, I mean, that would be between you and your 501c3, but in our case, so at the end of our campaign, so all along during the campaign, we're being notified, you know, so-and-so gave this much. So AK, your mic is, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Live. We're being notified of the individual donors' names, but we don't get any of that money till the very end of the campaign. And then it all goes from Seed&Spark to Women Make Movies, and then Women Make Movies takes their cut and sends it back to us. And that takes maybe a couple weeks. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah, can I jump in here for just a minute too? Because I've worked with other fiscal sponsors besides whom Cheri is working with now. Sometimes it depends, you set this up front. It depends on amount of money. Once your fiscal sponsor receives, let's say $2,000, then they'll release that to you, because it's hard for them to give it to you in drips and drabs. So when you're forming your relationship with your fiscal sponsor, that's a conversation to have. You know, when will you release the funds? What dollar amount do they have to accumulate before they'll send it to you? Everybody, it's that part of it with fiscal sponsors is a little bit negotiable. So when you're shopping fiscal sponsors and you set up a conversation with them, that's one of the things you should put on your list, is to ask them how they release the funds.
Yeah.
And
I was describing the process at the end of a crowdfunding campaign where they get the lump sum and then send me the lump sum. But on a monthly basis, anytime somebody donates to Women Make Movies, they let me know the person donated and they tell me what my current balance is. So I can actually just bank my money at Women Make Movies and then say, please send me $1,000 or please, you know, so I can request it. But like Cheryl said, I think they're all a little different.
They definitely are a little different. And that is one thing, just make it a priority when you're having the discussion and making your decision about who you're working with on that.
Yeah. And Jamie, yes, the pink text headers are JPEGs. Yeah, it helps to organize the information. And honestly, we probably got the idea by looking at somebody else's campaign. You learn a lot and actually, talk about strangers. I meant to mention this. Some of our donors who are now devoted donors and actually have become good friends are people who saw us first on Seed&Spark. They were filmmakers who were going, should I do a crowdfunding campaign? Let's see what other people are doing. Saw our project, donated to us. We've met them in the film festival circuit, and now we're good friends, and they're donors. So it's like you do meet people who become friends and donors through just being on Seed&Spark, which is exciting.
Any other questions?
So if my actual goal exceeds my approved fundraising goal, how do I communicate that with potential donors? Can I continue to fundraise? No, once your campaign's completed, you're done. So no, you can't use it beyond. You have to, if a campaign has a beginning and end date. I don't understand, Carmen, the part where you're saying if my actual goal exceeds my approved fund. Can you just?
Yeah. So, because I've explored Seed&Spark a little bit, and it looks like, you know, they will approve you for, like, I need to raise like at least 50 grand for my project. But I think in terms of like the numbers on my email list and all of that, I realistically probably will only be able to raise 25.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to communicate. So like if I have to do another campaign down the road, that my donors won't be like, well, didn't you, you know, accomplish your goal, you know?
Exactly. That's where I was saying earlier, define what it's for. And that's why we did with our feature, we knew, and we have heard you can do about 3 crowdfunding campaigns to the same people. But you want to be sure each one's not like, we're just raising money for this film. Like, we're raising money for production. We need to hire cinematographers. We need sound mixers, etc. Okay, we did production. Thank you. You made it possible. Now we're raising money for post-production. We need to pay editors and And then maybe you come back to them a third time and, okay, we finished our film. Now we need to get it out in the festival circuit. We need entry fees. We need, you know, blah, blah, blah. So you keep each of those distinct. And we were debating whether to do a third campaign for Acting Like Women, because we're now a year from the previous campaign, and we decided not to. We're going to save it. We probably will do another one sometime in the future, but we're right now using our donors and we're trying a new tactic, which is just doing these Zoom meetings, which we're calling progress reports, where we do a slideshow, say, here are all the things we accomplished. Here are 3 little clips of our film in progress. And here's our goal to the end of the year. We're trying to raise 50,000. We don't know if it's going to work. It's a new tactic. So yeah. Somebody asked, Jamie asked about the email contacts. Yes, you every time a person donates, you go in and you can look at that person's record and you see their name, you see their email, and any other information they added. So yeah, you have access to that. Build in stretch goals. Heidi, can you clarify your question?
That wasn't a question I was answering. I was trying to answer Carmen's question.
Oh.
Stretch goals here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, Faye, I see your hand up.
Hi, thank you guys. This is really a wonderful presentation. So I have sort of a timing question. Before starting to look at resources online and now hearing your presentation, I thought I would try to do a crowdfunding campaign this fall. But I just feel like I don't have a team. I'm not sure how to get one. Right now it's me as producer director, and I have a cinematographer who did like a 1-day shoot for me. And I'm wondering about the pros and cons of trying to like sort of pull everything together really quickly and make it happen before the year ends, which seems like real stretch versus like in the spring or the early winter or something.
My immediate reaction is it's too late. It's already too late. Yeah, because you've got a steep learning curve if you've never done one. I mean, there's a lot, and the prep that you have to do, like the making that video and stuff, unless you're really good at whipping stuff like that. I know.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in here really quickly.
Yeah.
I'm in the same exact position that you're in right now, Faye. I have a brand new documentary feature that I've started. And I went through the same, even though I've done these other campaigns, and I've decided to wait until the first quarter of next year when I can build my team and organize better. I was so tempted to try to, because I've done it before, I was so tempted to try and do it before the end of the year. And I just woke up in the middle of the night saying, oh my God, no, what are you even thinking? You need to wait until the beginning. And if we can help you, let us know. Because
Thank you,
it's because you're eager to get going. And I'm saying about I have a cinematographer, myself, director, producer. I'm just gathering my team now, and it would have been such a push. So yeah, good decision to wait, I think.
Thanks.
And Carmen, I meant to say to you, you said you needed to raise 50,000, and I would say that's an awful lot to raise through your first crowdfunding campaign. In my opinion, I would definitely take it to 25 or even less. Maybe in your mind, you want to raise 25, but you say 20, and then you make that extra 5 be your stretch goals, because you just, like I said, you don't want to fail. And one thing I didn't say earlier is that Seed&Spark doesn't require you to raise the whole amount. They require you to raise 80%. So once you've raised 80%, they will pay you. Now that gets a little tricky, because then sometimes they will communicate to your audience, oh, they're at 80%. They've made, what do they call it? There's a name for it. And you don't want people to think, well, we're not done. We're not done. No, we need to raise more. So it's always that, like, how do you frame it so that, like, oh, but we're not done. We need more. Any other questions? Let me see. I was gonna open, I realized there was one other thing I wanted to show you real quick. Let me show you, where am I at? So I'm going to share my screen real quick. The thing we're doing right now is with these Zoom meetings is this is one of the slides in the Zoom meeting where we're telling people just go to our website, and we say, there's a button there that says donate please, and then that's going to take you straight to our Women Make Movies donation page, where there's another button. So this is in a slide presentation we're doing in our current Zoom meetings in lieu of doing crowdfunding.
I also dropped the Seed&Spark link to Acting Like Women, so folks can head over there.
Yeah, and that reminded me when you did that, because what I thought is, as somebody was asking, can you continue to raise money? You can't. So if you go to that link, if you'd like to give money to Acting Like Women, we are currently in a campaign trying to raise 50,000 by the end of the year. Don't do it through that link. Go to actinglikewomen.com and do what I just showed you, because that's how you'll get to us. Yeah, once it's over, it's over.
Will you make your slides available?
Sure.
I can put them on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. Any more questions?
Jimmy, I answered some of your questions. Where were you?
I've not been feeling well today, so I've
I'm sorry.
out to make sure I got the tail end of it.
Jimmy helped by asking me questions in the beginning to help shape the
Carmen has a good question about producer credits, or any kind of credits besides just a long scroll at the end. Thank you. Can you say more about that, Cheri and Cheryl?
Well, I mean, we did like with Inside the Beauty Bubble, we did have 2 people that donated $2,500 each, and they became, I think they were executive producers.
Yes.
We gave them executive, and then everybody else was in the other role. You could have, like, we have the angels and harpies, you could have different. It is annoying sometimes, those long scrolls of names. We also, when we did our incentives, you can't give $10 and get your name in the credits. You have to give 50 or above. We made a little bit higher amount to motivate people to give a little bit more if they could. So I would say, you can't have somebody give you a quarter and get their name in the credits. So you can determine how much equals what and how you want to parse those out in your credit roll. And I know that, like, talking with people like Paul Espinoza there, we're really interested in breaking into the PBS world. And Paul was telling me that when you get on TV, you're probably going to redo those credits anyway. A lot of those crowdfunding people are going to go off because you've got limited time, screen time.
Yeah. If I can just comment, yeah, if you want to get something on PBS, you need to be careful about particularly the producer and executive producer credits, because there's a lot more scrutiny of that. You can't just be handing out producer credits. And, ideally, I would say as a filmmaker, you want to be judicious about that anyway, not just handing them out for nothing, or for, $2,500 is kind of a low bar, I would say, for a producer credit. But anyway, be careful with that. Yeah. And also for PBS, actually, you have to provide them with a list of all the people that contributed to your film. It doesn't have to be on the credits, but you have to give them a list of everybody down to people that gave like $1 or $10. So theoretically, if you kept track of all your contributions, you'll have that, and you can give them an Excel document which has that. But it is something to be aware of if you're talking about wanting to get on public television eventually.
And I'm hoping I can lure Paul in to do a session with us about that. So I'm glad you're here, Paul. Yeah, and the 2,500, yeah, it is pretty low, but that was like a $25,000 budget film, or maybe it was 40 in the, I can't remember. It was a short, and yeah.
It was about 35,000, and it was a short film, and it was our first time out the gate. We've learned a lot since then.
Any other questions?
Just doubling down on Paul's caveat around PBS and their scrutiny. I mean, they literally do searches for people's names. Are they affiliated with some organization? Is it state-funded money? I've done a lot of projects with or around China topics, and so it's a real microphone, a real magnifying glass from PBS.
And Delisa, congratulations. You've met your goal and now are on to your stretch goal. Put a link to your crowdfunding campaign so we can go to it, Delisa. And then Jimmy, I'm calling on you.
I would say, and I'm hopefully I'll find the recording and watch it again, so it's going to be great to see. I will say though, about just a comment on your 2,500 for executive producer comment. I found that, because I think sometimes it's just great to get started.
Yeah.
And my first crowdfunding will not look like my second one, because there are definitely lessons I learned from that one. So I think I definitely would find, there are things I gave away that I probably would bump it up. But I think there's a confidence one has from having successfully done one crowdfunding campaign and had made one film, that allows me to turn around next time and say, actually, to be an executive producer, you need to give this much, because actually I feel more confident in myself.
Yes.
Do that. So I think sometimes part of doing it that way is the baby steps to get to the point where one can say that. So I think that the only wrong way to do it is not to do it at all, or not to follow through on what you've given. I think that my crowdfunding question would be, I do want to hit people up for money by the end of the year. Sorry, not hit people. What I mean is edit it out. I would like to go to my community and ask them for some funds. I don't know if I'm going to do, I don't think I need to do a full-on crowdfunding campaign. That's not my intention. But any suggestions on what we could do that could be a lighter touch, just so that we get an opportunity to ask? Or is it worth not even asking at all?
Oh, I think it's definitely worth asking. I think you always can build on the fact that it's as the fiscal year is coming to a close. And I know this is a time of year when you're looking at charitable donations and that kind of thing. One thing I didn't talk about, and Cheryl, you might want to add to this as well, is I've gotten kind of loose with using the word donation, but in the early times of doing this, we were told don't ever call it donations, call it contributions, call it gifts. Like there's something like donation is a bad word. Although honestly, lately I just been using it.
It's not that donation was a bad word. It's just that it makes it sound sometimes to some people like it's a one-off. But when you're contributing, you're you're a part of something. You're contributing to the film. You're contributing to community. I know in the nonprofit world, we've had to change gears and use the word contribute. And we were asking about ideas for fundraising now between now and the end of the year. If you already have some funds, I've seen some other filmmakers use the matching fund, reaching out with friends saying, oh my gosh, we've got 20,000 right now, and we're doing a little matching gift campaign. If you would consider, helping us match it so that we close the year out, with our stretch goals or whatever your languaging is. That's
a good
one
strategy
thing that I've seen work for some folks.
Yeah, we've had a couple people give $1,000, and then they did little personal videos that said, I gave $1,000 because I think this is important. Will you match, or will you contribute? We're running a matching campaign. So yeah, that's a good strategy too. I know we're probably about out of time. So any final questions? Do you have a place where on the film website where people can donate year round? Yes, absolutely. That's what I was showing you, the slide that we were using in our current thing. Anybody can just go. Any of you could go right now to actingLikeWomen.com, and we make it real clear. Watch the trailer, please donate. And when you click on the donate, it takes you straight to our Women Make Movies dedicated site, where you can do a credit card, you can do a bank transfer, you can donate in a million different ways. So yeah, all year round, you can just go to that site.
So I'm just reminding you, save the chat. If you go to the bottom of the chat navigation bar, there's 3 little dots. If you hit that, it'll just automatically save the chat for you. There's a number of links and just good, helpful notes. Also, Cheryl and Cheri are going to give us, excuse me, their slides, and I've recorded it. Thank you, Cheri, for allowing me, and Cheryl for allowing me to record it. You guys. I mean, Cheri, it's so clear that you were a teacher for how many years?
What? Yeah. 31 years.
It's so clear. It was really,
Teenagers.
as part of it, was really a gift to have a professional teacher provide us with all this information.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank